All right, the topic of today's video is the creation of a condominium regime. Now, we're not going to go into detail here. I'm basically going to give you the 50,000-foot view and then the things that you need to know for your real estate licensing exam. What is a condominium regime? Well, it kind of looks like an apartment. So we have a building, and in my example, we're going to have 4 condo units here. And this condominium regime could be, it's going to have grounds or common areas as well as the building and the individual units. All right, it may be set on 3 acres or 2 acres or 5 acres. It may have a swimming pool, a recreational area. I mean, condos now are very luxurious and there's a lot of amenities now. But I'm going to keep it simple in our example. Now, we have to go back to a different video and where we talked about what's called the bundle of rights. We have to understand that before we can move forward and understand how the condominium regimes are set up. And I'm going to leave a link to that video right up here in the upper right-hand corner of your video if you want to check that out. Now, just as a recap, the bundle of rights basically said that if you own a piece of property, if you own this property, you own it from the center of the earth extending all the way into the heavens, which include the subsurface rights, the surface rights, and the air rights. One owner has all of those bundle of rights, but that puts condominium ownership in conflict because we have one owner on the other and there's no boundary lines and those type of things. So how do we reconcile that difference? All right. And the federal government solved that. They passed what's called the horizontal Property Act. And this is a law that you have to know for your real estate licensing exam. The Horizontal Property Act allowed for the creation of condominium regimes. Now, if I'm the developer of this condominium regime, I am going to file with the local county courthouse, or down at the local county courthouse, what's called a master deed. And remember when we talked about deeds, the deed is proof of transfer of title and the quality of the estate and so on and so forth. But it's a little bit different than a different type of deed. It's specifically a master deed is intended for the creation of a condominium regime. Now, along with that master deed, I'm going to file a document called the declaration. The declaration. The declaration is an important document because it does several things. All right, the first thing that it does is it declares, if you will, the covenants, if there are any, which there's going to be. The covenants and the restrictions are the restrictions of use, if you will. The other thing that it does is converts the units, unit 1, 2, 3, 4, it converts the individual units into fee simple ownership. Now, again, in that video, we talked about what fee simple absolute ownership means. It means that the owner of condo number 1 has the entire bundle of rights. They have fee simple absolute ownership. All right, so that's what that means. It also allows for the establishment of what we call an undivided interest or ownership in the common areas. All right, this is a big regime right here. So yes, I am the owner of condo unit number 1 and I have individual fee simple absolute ownership, but I also have an ownership interest in the entire condominium regime. All right, it creates a board of directors. It creates a board of directors for the homeowners association. That's the other thing that declaration document does. All right, so that way there's a governing body that's going to enforce the rules and do the administration function of the condominium regime. And the last thing that it does is the declaration establishes the legal description, and we talked about that in a previous video, but it identifies the legal description of not only the individual condominium units, but also the regime in its totality, the legal description of the condominium regime. There's an additional document that's typically filed along with the declaration, and it's called the bylaws. The bylaws. And I always like to tell students that the declaration is like it's the meat of the rules and regulations, and the bylaws is the clarification points, if you will. Now, the bylaws, they're not all the same, but here are some of the things you might see in bylaws. You're going to have the responsibility of the officers on the board of direction, or the directors. What is their function? What is their duties and responsibilities? What's the owner's responsibilities? Because each one of the owners here, they have certain obligations and obligations as well. How fees are collected and what fees are going to be collected and for what purposes. You know, like for special assessments. Maybe everybody wants to build a pool, so they're going to collect special assessments. We definitely know we have to have ongoing maintenance and insurance, those type of things. So they're going to be collecting fees and monies for the liability insurance, those type of things. Roofs, siding, concrete, those type of things. Those are all maintenance items that are going to have to be collected, or at least money is going to have to be collected for them. That's the function of the bylaws. They establish the parameters for the homeowners association to collect those fees and to take action if a condo owner does not pay those fees. That's important as well. So that's what the bylaws do, and the bylaws are easily changed compared to the declaration part of things. So again, this is the meat of the substance, and the bylaws is really just the clarification points. All right, so two other things I want to deal with here. Number one is, what do we do about taxes? Because we got to pay property taxes. You would think that the county is just going to assess the entire deal, send the bill to the homeowners association and let them figure it out. But that's not what happens. What happens is, because each one of these units are individually deeded, and that's important because if we have a condo, if it has an individual deed, that means the owner can get a mortgage, the owner can get title insurance, the owner can, they can lease the property out. They have the bundle of rights for that one unit. Okay, so here's what the county is going to do. The county is going to assess taxes on the individual units themselves. That's what's going to happen. And how much tax is going to be assessed? Well, it's going to depend on the square footage of each unit, right? So let's say unit number 1 has 1,000 square foot, unit number 2 has 2,000 square foot, unit number 3 has 3,000 square foot, and unit number 4 has 4,000 square foot. Well, unit number 4 is the biggest because of the square footage, so their tax bill, they're going to pay a larger share of the property tax than they are the person that has only 1,000 square foot. Now, the key here is the tax person, the county, is going to send the tax bill to each one of the unit owners individually. The condominium regime will not receive a tax bill. The other part I want to talk about is maintenance. Obviously, as I said before, things need to be fixed. The homeowners association is going to have what we call a homeowners association due, or a fee, and that fee is assessed every month, every quarter. A few of them I've seen maybe an annual assessment. The homeowners association is going to levy a fee or a due against each one of the individual condo owners. And again, let's say, for example, that the homeowners association says we need $100,000 this year to do maintenance, pay for insurance, pay for snow plows and stuff like that. Well, the owner that has the greatest square footage is going to pay a higher portion of that bill than the unit that has less square footage. So unit 4 that has 4,000 square foot is going to have a higher bill than the unit 1 that has only 1,000 square foot. So that's important to remember as well. Assessments are based on the square footage of the individual owner's condominium.